name is Elliot Cohen. I've been hired by the city to sort of facilitate the meetings.
I'm Amy May, Commissioner of District 3. I am on the Finance and Taxation Advocacy Committee for the Florida League of Cities. I have some unique information because of being on that committee. So I just want to, it'll probably take me about 2 or 3 minutes here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've learned this year. So I've gone to the Florida League of Cities meetings about taxation and finance. And the first day we went to the meeting, there's maybe 75 of us on this committee. And we went around the table and we talked about what made our cities unique. Okay, each city had a little something that made them unique. You know, and I talked about our street painting festival, and I talked about how we're the arts capital of Palm Beach County, and I talked about, you know, the unique architecture, and I talked about some of the things that make us unique. Because why people live in municipalities is because of the uniqueness of that municipality. Otherwise, you could live in, you know, unincorporated Palm Beach County. And I was thinking about that, and we were talking about the property tax. There's 8 amendments right now regarding property taxes. The House and the governor are really wanting to see 1, 2, or all of these go through. And I just want to talk a little bit about the reality of if one of these does go through. And the one that was on, that they were talking about last week was increasing the homestead allowance from $50,000 to $250,000, which is awesome if you own a house and you don't want to pay taxes, because I don't. However, so much of our budget comes from homestead property taxes. Now, I've put in a request to get the actual numbers. And
I'm sorry, this isn't a question.
I'm not asking the question.
We're supposed to be asking questions, and I got chastised at the last town hall for making a statement, and he said, have you got this in the form of a question? It just...
We're waiting for your question. Sure, thank you. Thank you. If you be quiet and let me speak, I'll get there.
Nobody else is going to have 3 or 4 minutes to speak.
In any event, I want you as the voting public and myself to realize that if they go through with some of these property tax amendments, they take away some of our funding, we are going to be in a financial strain. And I want you to think about what I said at the beginning, which was all of the things that make Lake Worth great. If we have to start cutting, we'll start cutting leisure services, the street painting festival. We might have to go down to 1 day a week garbage. You might have to bring your own garbage to the dump.
What does
So
this
my
have to do with
question
the
to
charter?
you is, how do you think?
What's your question?
Bringing our own
Okay, my question is, how do you feel the current situation in Tallahassee where they're looking to raise property taxes would affect Lake Worth Beach, and how do these amendments help preserve our future as a city? Thank you.
So I'm not quite sure it's relevant how I feel about it, but I think that obviously, look, you raise a good issue. It's one of the top issues that's going around in Tallahassee. It's one of the primary issues that's going to affect not only Lake Worth Beach, it's going to affect every city in the state. There is definitely a heated debate that's going to go on when these amendments come out of committee as to whether to eliminate property taxes. How it relates to the amendments, I'm not sure that that's entirely clear. So I don't know that there's a specific answer for you. I think raising awareness for the issue is important. And certainly if there's people here that want to learn more about it, there's plenty of ways to learn more about what the proposals that are going on in Tallahassee with regard to eliminating property taxes. And if Lake Worth Beach, I'm not familiar specifically with Lake Worth Beach, but if it's like pretty much every other city that I interact with, a tremendous amount of the budget comes from property taxes.
Thank you.
Who came up with these and why? What is the background on them?
Jamie Brown, so I've been the public works director here for almost 15 years. I'm also the interim city manager at the moment. So over the course of time and dealing with different elected officials, the financial situation of the city has been very interesting. So we've been trying to figure out ways to, and staff present to the commission ways to increase revenue. As you guys are all probably aware, our millage rate is very high. We cannot go any higher on the millage rate. We can't raise taxes, all that other stuff. So over time, the city has had to raise taxes, raise costs of utilities and all this other stuff to pay for things. Trying to identify through the city charter or the documents that he brought up before, our LDRs, our comp plan, trying to see what are things that might be deterrents or obstacles to get some type of investment in the city so we can get more revenue, so we can start lowering some things. That's what kind of came out of this. We had a massive list of things that we brought forward, and over time these got whittled down, and that's what came down to what you see before you. So that's where we came from. If you guys remember last year, the P3 policy that the commission passed, the public-private partnership policy, that was born out of this as well because we had things coming forward and we did not have any type of policy, any type of rules in place to kind of go through these things if they are presented to us.
Is what this charter amendment basically doing is just taking away the rights of the people and why do it? One of the barriers that exists for a lot of developers to come in and make and build beautiful projects to improve communities is uncertainty. So the uncertainty on the part of developers, they will look at a project and say, okay, I know that I am guaranteed that I can stay in this property for 20 years or 30 years. But after that, I don't know whether I'm gonna have, they're gonna renew my lease, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay. So therefore, I don't wanna do that.
Okay. Is it my
What
time?
if a developer knows that he has the because obviously the possibility is that the public would vote not to allow him to build the project there. So if I'm a developer and I want to submit a project, and I don't know whether the project that I want to build is going to be allowed to stay there for enough time to make it worthwhile, unless the voters approve it, that's the uncertainty that is the barrier for the developers.
So my point is, so what? That's life. And if the citizens don't want the project, then so be it. And right now, if that developer wants to improve what he's gonna do, he can go to the citizens and he can make his argument and he might get his way or he might not. But the point is, you're basically saying, we don't trust the citizens to make that decision. They're not smart enough, but yet we trust the city commission to make those decisions. And then the question in the back of my mind is, well, why? Because the developer can donate money to people running for office and get a city commission that'll do his or her bidding, but he can't control the citizens. So why would me, as a citizen, want to give up my rights to someone else?
Well, I think one way to answer that is when you say if they don't come and they don't do the project, so what?
Yeah, so what?
So there are consequences for not having urban renewal, not having new projects built. So what? So nothing gets built. So nothing gets built in the city. There's nothing built.
Something is built.
No, I'm saying if that's the answer, if the answer is so what and it doesn't come in, yes, of course.
But
That is
projects
the
are being
choice.
built all the time under these rules. So why do we need to change the rules? If the other projects are being built, then why do we have to change the rules? And why do we take away the right of citizens to have control?
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
If I walked into a voting booth and read the language of this ballot proposal, and I hadn't come to any of these meetings, and I'm just a regular person who walks in and reads this and go, oh, I'm making a decision on whether or not to allow the city to enter into 99-year leases. How would I know that this is about taking away the right of the citizens to approve? And my question is, are you guys gonna change these materials for your, you've got this social media campaign coming up and all the different parts of your contract, which I've seen. How are you going to address that? Because as it's written, these materials are misleading. They don't even contain the word vote.
The city and along with our consultant, we produced data and everything to go on the flyers. We also did the ballot language. All that goes through an election attorney. What was submitted to them is not what came out the other side. They have to go through there and make sure that everything follows state statute, and nothing can be viewed as advocating one way or another. So to answer your question, Nancy, from earlier, which I tried to
Wait,
answer,
can we just focus on my question?
and that's fine too.
How
It's
would
the same
somebody
thing.
know what they're voting on, given the language of this proposal?
Again,
I don't wanna hear about the election attorney, I'm
then I have to
asking
answer
a
for you, because
question.
that is the answer.
How will people know what they're voting on, when the ballot proposal doesn't say what we're voting on?
Some of the initial language we had in there could not remain because it did not follow state statute. We could not include any kind of financial information because that could be viewed one way or another depending on how you're looking at it. Information we included had to go through an election attorney, and that's what I was trying to say before.
So you had originally in there something about that this is taking away the citizens' vote, and the election attorney took that out?
No, because that's something that obviously is advocating in one way.
Excuse me, how is it
Advocating.
advocating when it's just a fact?
Advocating?
No, I'm asking you,
We,
you're saying in your stuff that you sent to the attorney,
Yeah.
you said we're gonna change the charter from blah, blah, blah with a vote to blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, you can't say with a vote. Are you telling me that's what happened?
I didn't tell you what was on what we submitted, I'm just saying, we submit everything to an election attorney,
So
just like the
what?
ballot.
Jamie, that's not the point. The
It-
point is, why didn't you submit something to the election attorney that says that this accurately describes what we're voting on?
Nancy,
Yes,
just like with ballot language, just like with ballot language,
yes.
all of that has to go through an election.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
I tell you. I don't know what else to tell you other
Well,
than, we do not have an election attorney on city staff to go through. It has to go through.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
it depends what you give them in the first place, doesn't it, Jamie? In other words, you could give the election attorney anything you want, right? And then the election attorney will look at it. Did you give the election attorney language that accurately described that the result of this vote, a yes vote on this proposal, would be to eliminate the citizen vote? Did you say that? Did you give that to the election attorney?
That cannot be included in any type of informational packet that goes out. That language that you just said cannot be included in
That is
any
the
type of
only
flyer.
effect of this amendment.
Again,
The only effect.
anything like that cannot be mentioned in any type of.
I disagree. I mean, I don't know how anybody could possibly go into a voting booth and read this and understand what the effect of a yes vote is. It doesn't say it. And I mean, I don't wanna waste more city money on lawsuits and complaints, but I'm telling you guys, there is strong case law that was not addressed by your election lawyer. That specifically says that a ballot proposal cannot hide the ball, cannot fly under false colors. It has to be clear and specific about what the purpose of the ballot proposal is. And that is what the law says, regardless of what your election attorney said about whether or not it was okay for you guys to pay them $48,000. Okay? Sorry, you asked.
As your hired consultant, I'm gonna tell you, time's up. All right, so it's 8 o'clock. We have
Thank you for